For weeks I had been dealing with the same strange, irritating problem. Every time I rolled my trash can out to the curb, it would mysteriously end up tipped over. At first I brushed it off as an accident. Maybe the wind had blown it down. Or perhaps a stray animal had gone rummaging through it looking for scraps. But after the 5th or 6th time, I began to notice a pattern. It only happened on days when Karen, the self-proclaimed queen of our HOA, made her morning walk through the neighborhood. Karen had a reputation for meddling in everyone else's business. If someone left their grass a little too long, she'd write a note about it. If a garden gnome was too tacky for her taste, she'd complain at the next HOA meeting. If your car was parked too close to the sidewalk, she'd leave a bright orange warning slip taped to your window. She wasn't just a busybody. She was a one-woman neighborhood patrol with too much time and not enough kindness. I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt, but one morning, as I sipped my coffee on the porch, I caught her in the act. She walked by my driveway, glanced left and right as though making sure no one was watching, and then gave my trash can a deliberate shove with her hand. The can rocked, wobbled, and toppled to the ground with a loud crash, spilling some of its contents onto the curb. Karen didn't even flinch. She smirked, adjusted her sun visor, and kept walking like she had just done her civic duty. My jaw nearly hit the floor. Couldn't believe it. The culprit wasn't wind, wasn't raccoons, wasn't kids fooling around. It was Karen, my neighbor, intentionally knocking over my trash can like it was some kind of twisted hobby. I sat there, stunned, clutching my coffee mug while my frustration simmered. At first I thought about confronting her directly, marching right up to her and demanding to know why she felt entitled to treat my property like her personal target. Practice. But then I remembered who I was dealing with. Karen wasn't the kind of person you could reason with. If I called her out, she'd probably flip the narrative and accuse me of being hostile or unneighborly. Maybe even bring it up at the next HOA meeting in front of everyone. I could already hear her sharp voice saying, "He raised," his voice at me over a trash can, the room full of neighbors nodding as though I had committed some unspeakable crime. No, confronting her wasn't the answer, but neither was doing nothing. Each time I saw that trash can tipped over, each time I had to bend down and clean up the mess, it felt like she was winning. She was getting her little thrill at my expense, and I wasn't about to let her keep that satisfaction. I needed a plan, something subtle, clever, and undeniably effective. Something that would stop her in her tracks without giving her an opportunity to twist the story against me. The idea had to be foolproof, one that turned the tables on her without me having to say a single word. As I picked up my trash can for what felt like the 100th time and dragged it back upright, I felt the spark of an idea forming in my mind. If Karen wanted to play games with my trash can, then I was more than ready to play along, but on my terms. The next morning I put my plan into action. Instead of rolling out my usual lightweight plastic trash can, I replaced it with something Karen would never expect, a solid steel block I had sitting in my garage left over from an old project. It was dense, heavy, and practically immovable. Without machinery, I polished it up just enough so that it looked smooth and clean, then cleverly disguised it by placing an empty cardboard box over the top, giving the illusion that my regular trash can was sitting there as always. To anyone walking by, it looked perfectly ordinary, but I knew the truth. This wasn't just trash anymore, it was bait. I settled onto my porch with my coffee, hiding behind the cover of the morning paper, and waited. Sure enough, like clockwork, Karen appeared on her daily stroll. She strutted down the sidewalk with her oversized sun visor, little clipboard tucked under her arm like she was the official inspector of the neighborhood. I could almost predict her every move. She approached my driveway, her pace slowed, ever so slightly, and I saw her eyes flick toward the disguised steel block. There it was again, that little smirk she always wore when she thought she was about to get away with something. She reached out with the same casual arrogance she always had, as though knocking over my trash can was part of her morning workout routine. But this time, things didn't go the way she expected. The moment her hand made contact, instead of the lightweight plastic wobbling and falling, her palms slammed against cold, unyielding steel.
Always.
The look on her face was priceless. Her smug expression twisted instantly into confusion. Then shock, then pain, as she shook her hand out like she had just punched a brick wall. She even lost her balance for a second and stumbled forward, catching herself awkwardly with her other hand against the block. I nearly spit out my coffee, trying not to laugh out loud. She looked around quickly, checking to see if anyone had noticed, but I stayed hidden just enough behind my paper to keep my cover. The best part was, she couldn't even complain. She couldn't accuse me of doing anything wrong because, as far as anyone could tell, I had simply placed my trash at the curb like I was supposed to. Was the one who had decided to shove it. For the first time, I felt like I had taken back control from her endless pettiness. Karen lingered there for a moment, glaring at the disguised block as if she were trying to figure out why her little trick hadn't worked. She didn't dare touch it again. She straightened her visor, adjusted her clipboard, and walked off briskly, pretending nothing had happened, though I could see her still flexing her sore hand as she disappeared around the corner. From that day forward, she never tried to knock over my trash can again. In fact, she went out of her way to avoid my side of the street altogether. If she came walking down the sidewalk and saw my house up ahead, she'd cross to the other side like I was carrying some contagious disease. The neighborhood gossipers must have noticed her sudden detours, but I didn't need to explain. I knew. The truth, Karen had finally met her match, not through confrontation, not through an argument, but through a quiet little act of clever payback that left me grinning every time I took the trash out.